Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome. So it's GM prep time. It's GM prep time. Secret GM prep time.
Our illustrious champion.
Hot damn.
returns.
Thanks, Boris.
Welcome home.
We got Christy coming back too. So the plan today, and if you've not watched one of these before, let me lay it all out for you. So the way it works is that I am going to be preparing all the secret GM stuff, right? I'm going to be preparing all the secret stuff for the 100th episode. I'm going to be putting together any maps that I need. I'm going to be setting up encounters. I'm going to be talking about the overall stuff that's going on for big episode 100. And it is going to be Spoiler City, USA up in here. All right. So if you are trying to remain totally clean of spoilers, this is not the stream for you. And that's okay. If you're watching this like on YouTube later after the 100th episode, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was really fun because I am so excited for it. But the idea here is that you want to see kind of behind the curtain. You want to know when you're sitting there watching the live show, you want to know what's going to come next. You know, you want to be like, oh, don't go in that room. That room's full of, I don't know, mimics. That room is a mimic. I don't know. So, you know, it's for the crowd that likes dramatic irony. It's for the crowd that wants to see kind of how I do this stuff. And it's for all of us to just like hang out and talk about where the campaign is at and kind of where I see it going post episode 100. So I'll talk about some of that stuff too. It's interesting. This is one of the few streams where the streamer spoils the story for the audience. So if that's what you're here for, thank you for coming. Quick thanks to Hidden Jester, Klestico, Krylus, and Balanaral. Thanks everybody for your resubs. Now, anybody who's been watching these for a while, who has kind of like observed me doing my GM prep thing, you're going to recall the last time we did a pre-show. Hi, Dalen. Pinway is also hi. You're going to remember the last time we did a pre-show GM prep. And I famously said, I'm pretty sure 8 hours will be enough to cover all of this stuff. And then like 25 episodes went by. You remember that? That was the City of Brass prep thing that we did. Yeah, it was months of content. So what I want to do is just make sure I have some good shit for tomorrow. Some good, like strong, bringing it back shit for tomorrow. And then, or day after tomorrow. And then, some thoughts towards the future. And I want to answer some general questions about where I see the game going and kind of where we're at and what that's about. So I guess this is your last chance. If you don't want to get spoiled, thanks for popping in. Maybe we'll see you in the future. But after this, it's all engines go. All right. And we're going to be talking about all the big stuff. So there it is. Okay, so let's talk about Court of Swords and where we're at right now. Now, my intention is that at least for now, and I don't know how long this next arc is going to last, but what we're looking at for the episode 100 is, and you know me, I like my climactic moments to be deeply sorrowful. I like loss. This is a campaign about feeling helpless in the eyes of fate and rejecting fate or choosing to go along with it, like all of that stuff. So there's going to be some big stuff going on. There's going to be some big intense shit. And what I consider right now to be kind of the main themes of what we're looking at are surrounding the characters, obviously. So the questions that I want to answer are not necessarily just in the live show, but to begin answering in the live show. And I see this live show as sort of the beginning of the end. It's the point between what we've been doing and what I want to do. So what we're going to kind of focus on for each character, what I consider to be the main things, is Ramus. This is it. This is the end of Ramus's arc. Like, Ramus at the end of this thing will either come out a new man with a soul, or he will die. Right? Or something worse will happen. I basically see one of three things happening, right? Ramus finally gives up the ghost, his body is destroyed, and we have no more Ramus Krill, right? That's one way I see out of this. I can see him getting his own soul back, right? I could see him getting his own soul back, and then we have to deal with what happens when a decomposing body is got a soul thrust back into it. Right? And then we meet old Ramus versus new Ramus, right? Because having your soul refused getting your higher soul back, is he going to go back to the man he was? Is he going to become like obnoxious and shitty like he was at the beginning? He's learned so much, but does what you have learned matter if your soul is still pure? Remember, there is a higher version of Ramus, the reincarnating version of Ramus, the Ramus that has an attachment to an infinite number of previous incarnations, right? This is the Ramus the universe cares about. It's in a jar under a shelf somewhere. What we see is a dead thing that thinks that it's Ramus Krill, right? We have been watching a body drag itself around, trying to protect its friends, trying to make good, but nothing that it does matters, right? Ramus's existence is pointless in the eyes of heaven because he can't accumulate dharma, right? He will get no karmic reward for anything that he does, but also any crime he commits, the eyes of heaven are blind to those things. He can both do whatever he wants, but also he will never be rewarded for anything good that he does. So really, he's kind of this like this atheist hero, right? Because what he does because he wants to, because he cares, right? And that's what's interesting to me, is that Ramus is really a man who is he's in a unique position that his choices only matter to him, and everything he does because he wants to. So what is going to happen if he gets reunited with his upper soul, right? What happens? If Ramus dies right now, like if his body is killed, he can't be reincarnated. He can't be resurrected. He could be maybe reanimated, but like the magic, his lower soul would dissipate. It would dissolve. It'd turn to mush like it's trying to do. It's trying to kill his body. The lower soul wants to evaporate, and it's trying to break him down. And that's what's happening, is he's dying. He's becoming this shambling fucking ruin. So what's happening is that if Ramus, he needs a solution, but I don't have a particular solution in mind. My question is, what will happen? So either the body will die, the lower soul will dissipate, and our version of Ramus, right? This lower muck Ramus, that certainly like will go away and be gone. And then someday someone will find his soul and he will be reincarnated, probably as like a troglodyte or something, because as I remember it, basically all of Ramus's like decency and human compassion has happened after the tower enforced abomination that is Ramus Krill, right? Like he'll get punished for all of the like shitty things that old Ramus did, and then get reincarnated as like a troglodyte or a fucking goblin or some shit, right? Like he that'll be it. So it'll be the death of Ramus, and we will probably never think on or speak of Ramus Krill again, except through Berg's remembrances of him, right? He will die like a traditional D&D character would. Or he somehow manages to either beg, barter, or steal his soul back, in which case we got to figure out, like, can he be merged? What happens when that happens? How do we, like, is he, what happens to Ramus? And that's on Dan, right? I would talk to Dan about that and be like, what do you think happens, right? You just play that out. You role play that, and I will, we'll talk about that as a fictional narrative thing. Or we do some weird shit. Now, there are two options, and you've seen me hint at these. There are two options that we have seen that may be possible. Agni might be able to forge him either a new or artificial soul, right? She may be able to make for him something that will make Ramus more akin to a god than a man, in the sense that he would be his soul, right? In the way that elementals are. So he would become like a Ramus elemental, a unique spiritual being that is like, yeah, not even like a prosthetic soul, but this kind of like soul-flesh hybrid that we only see in the gods, or we see in the Farang. Because the Farang are these kind of like mono-spiritual, like they're monists, right? Like they believe in a oneness of the body and the spirit. It's all one thing. So it would make Ramus more like a Farang, or like a god, in the sense that he's not two divided souls, but he is instead both physical and spiritual in one entity, a kind of like weird, unique oddity. So he would continue to be that, and he would be like flame touched, right? he would be a sort of chosen of Agni. And we talked about that a little bit. There was somebody had a dream or a vision of Ramus at a crossroads. Oh, it was the girl, the priest, Dust of Dreams, who told Berg, like, look out, because here we go. Now, I'm going to give you a big spoiler. You want to know a big spoiler? So here's the thing. The poison from the very first episode where we saw the servant of the Necromancer King, right? When he had the bottle and he popped it open and he was going to try to like do something with it. We never saw that. And there were zombies. Remember that at the bridge? So that potion, that poison, was supposed to affect or inflict an effect on Ramus. It's deadly to everyone else, but the Necromancer King is curious about Ramus Krill. The Necromancer King's agents are all over the place. He's powerful enough that he has foreign agents bringing him, like he has an intelligence network in other courts, bringing him information. He's empowered by the Mara. He has a bunch of servants and shit. He's basically like this big shit monster dude. But he's been hearing about Ramus, and he understands that Ramus Krill is a man yet not a man, right? A creature without a proper soul, but not undead in the way that his servants are. And so he's very curious about Ramus, and the reason he's curious about Ramus is because he thinks that Ramus might be able to get him access to heaven. Because that's what the Necromancer King kind of has his eyes on now, right? He's thinking, I've got a good handle on this kingdom, right? I've got my own little Court of Swords thing going on. I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to destroy the Court of Swords. They are a 3-wheeled wagon, and I'm on my way, right? And he knows that Ramus is trying to get into heaven. And so what Ramus has on him now, this vial of green shit, if anybody other than Ramus drinks it, it will kill them. Like, it's like, make a saving throw, or you were reduced to 0 hit points and you are dying, right? That the idea is that it's virulent poison. If it's thrown around, it'll turn to vapor. It'll kill a bunch of people. It's massively virulent and could definitely, it'll definitely fuck you up. But if Ramus drinks or inhales it, it will begin a transformation. It will begin reshaping Ramus into a vessel that the Mara can use. And we've seen this plot before, right? This, I think, sounds familiar. The greatest fortress in all of the universe is the fortress that is heaven, right? The celestial dogs, the great walls, the magic barriers of heaven. Heaven is a very well-protected fortress. But if you can slip inside a person, right? Inside someone who might not, and Ramus is the greatest blind spot of heaven right now. So what the Necromancer King wants to do is use Ramus to get the Mara into heaven, right? Slip them in there. So yeah, he's a Trojan horse, exactly. So if Ramus imbibes or touches or is affected by this stuff, it will begin to transform him. And what I'm going to do is these transformations will be positive, right? It won't be like, oh, you suddenly feel terrible, like shit is getting all fucked up. It'll be like, Ramus, you wake up feeling fucking great, right? You feel strong. You feel healthy for the first time. Food has a taste again. Like this magic is rebuilding you. And if they don't ever like look at it on their own, someone who serves the Necromancer King will make that offer to Ramus, right? They'll say to Ramus, we have a way to make you better. We can fix you, right? You've already shed heaven. What's killing you is the cancer of your lower soul, right? Your upper soul is not your problem anymore. It'll be someone else's problem. You are free of the wheel of heaven now, but you're dying because you have this rotting soul inside you, right? This spiritual cancer that is consuming your body so that it can return to the universe, right? We need you to exorcise that thing. We need you to barf up your lower soul and be rid of it. And then all that's left is you, right? Which is like kind of true and kind of a lie. And yeah, Ramus hates the Mara, but lots of people who become the servants of the Mara do, right? And does Ramus hate the Mara more than heaven? Because heaven's been fucking him over for time immemorial, right? And this is the story of the Mara, right? This is the way they work. They take desperate people and they turn them into Necromancer Kings. Now, the thing with Agni is you're just going to be a servant, right? You will continue to be a servant of Imix. In a way, like Agni, you'll become a god, a lesser god of fire, but you will be a piece of Imix. You will become one of Imix's bits. And that may well be Ramus's like exit from the game too, right? You become one with the flame, right? You become Ramus alongside Agni and Novum and like the other aspects, right? You would be like we would talk about that and what that would look like. So I can see all of these as being exits for Ramus from the campaign, or not, depending on how much Dan wants to keep playing Ramus. It'll be up to Dan. So Ramus Krill. That's the first one, right? That's the very first like thing I'm thinking about. And then we're looking at Maharib, right? So Maharib's thing is a long time ago. Okay, you ready for a bunch more spoilers? I don't even think JP knows this yet. Here's a bunch more spoilery shit. Here's a bunch more spoilery shit for Maharib. Okay, so do you remember in the tomb thing, the tomb vault where they fought the Gug and retrieved the bell? Do you remember that? So there were creatures in that. They were like big, tall, kind of oblong-headed, like bluish skinned, like whatever. There were creatures on the walls. So those things are a race of non-humans. They're kind of like sort of giants. Like I've been calling them giants, but they're not giants the way D&D thinks of them. They're just a species. They're a race that no longer exists anymore. And they're his ancestors. Yeah. So their whole thing, way fucking back when, like maybe even before the primordials were really awake, these guys were around and they were locked in an eternal battle with these like outsiders, this outside entity, this cosmic darkness. We've never seen this thing. This thing is like above and beyond and outside the universe. We haven't really even touched on it because I've got so much other shit going on. But the outsiders, this extant force, they were locked in battle with these giants, and the giants were trying to keep them away from the universe. Yeah, kind of like the Nephilim or like something like that. And the outer darkness was being kept at bay by these giants, and they quested against these outsiders. And yes, Ulf, you got it. Yeah. So Ulf got it. So the thing that Raziel had as a patron was one of the whispers of the outside gods, right? These elder darkness outside the universe things. So yeah, there are little tiny cracks through which their whispers can seep and give people terrifying nightmares. They're very sort of Cthulhu-esque. This is my like ode to the dream quest of unknown Kadath. The Farang and the Outer Darkness have definitely clashed before. There is another setting about the dying of the Farang planet and like their world and how they fought the Outer Darkness and what they learned about that. And maybe it was like part of why they did this big Civil War split. Yeah, like it is connected. They are also outsiders, but they're different, right? So anyway, the Outer Darkness, it was repelled and rejected by these giants, but in doing so, the giants had to sacrifice themselves. They had to lessen, they interbreeded with this new sapient species, these humans, and they became more and more human-like, and all that is left are these sparse mountain tribes who remember these ancient struggles against greater powers. And a long time ago, the Goliaths, who are the kind of descendants of the of this giant race, the giants. I'm gonna call them that for now, but know that I don't mean like storm giants and shit. The Goliaths swore an oath to fight alongside the primordials in their war against their war. It's like a series of skirmishes that they were losing against Heaven. When Heaven was like, listen, here's the new plan, gods. We're all going to go up to this giant magic fortress we made, and humans are the best shit ever now, and we're going to use them to power the fountain. When that split happened, whatever, like 10,000 years ago, the Goliaths, the descendants of these giants, made a deal with the dragons or a deal with Imix to fight the dragons, and there was a whole thing. We haven't worked out the exact details of that deal because it's so lost, right? Like it's lost through time. even the Goliaths have like a loose kind of forgotten idea of their own stuff. And I guarantee that the Goliaths have like artifacts and remember ancient places and things that belong to the giants, but don't know who the giants were. Like there's no Goliath alive now that remembers that history. And because part of their like sacrifice was to be kind of obliterated from the universe. So there's like bare remnants of their sort of existence. No, the primordials weren't aware of the outer darkness because it was gone by the time they woke up, right? So here's the thing. I imagine that conscious thought, humanity remains the center of this universe, right? So in the universe, humans' consciousness, as they came from like cave-dwelling morons to slowly developing philosophy and thought and understanding, their thoughts and feelings shaped the primordials and made them more understandable. So it wasn't just like, this is a river in which my children have drowned. It became, this is Gorat, the terrible river, right? The drowner. And so Golat woke up and was like, oh, I'm not a river. I can think. I'm an entity. I am the twisting river Golat. Give me your children, right? So humans forced the primordials into these shapes, and then some of them were like, oh, I love you, humans. You're the best. You can do amazing things with your existence. So we're going to tune you. We're going to like grow you into this perfect thing, and we're going to serve the fountain and all this. Heaven has its own big agenda. But basically they personified the world because humanity needed to understand the world, and then some gods took it an extra step further, folded it back on itself, and now they control humans, right? They're keeping them in a zoo. Basically, they're just like, the humans are dangerous. We need to control their development. We need to take care of them. Yeah, exactly. Yoji's bow belonged to one of those giants. That's right. It was one of these old artifacts. So humans are the most important thing in the world. They're dangerous. Their soul and their mind and their thought. And so they have this power that nothing else does. And again, remember, when I say humans, I don't mean humans. I mean dwarves, halflings, humans, orcs, gnomes, I guess. Like those things, that lineage of conscious thinking entities. And yeah, sapient mortal creatures, exactly, mortals. And so there's all this stuff, and we don't really need to worry too much about the giants and the outer darkness for now. That's a thing that I would love to come back to someday. But for right now, the important thing is that Yoji has this mission that for his people, he's going to go and find Imix and say, look, things are changing, servants of Imix. We need the Fire Lord again. You know, the old ways must be respected. I have come here with my dragon slaying sword, passed down to me from my grandfather and his grandfather. Yeah, Maharib, sorry. And Maharib's here to say, like, this is the deal. You have to do this. And if you don't do it, I'm here to kill you. So there could be some tension when Ramus, this is my PC triangle, when Ramus shows up and is like, hey, what's up? I know Agni. Agni's cool. I like Imix. I've got this stone. It's a message from Agni. You need to go and save her brother. Like, what up, Imix? I want to be your friend. I'm Ramus Krill. And then Imix is like, who's that fucker? Right? And Maharib may, because we came down to it, right? Where Maharib is like, if Imix and his embers don't do what we want, if they don't honor the old ways, I'm here to fuck shit up. So that'll be a fun tension, right? I'm just doing the like take two PCs beliefs and overlap them and then make them run into conflict. So Maharib's plan is like honor the old ways for reasons he doesn't understand necessarily, but he knows are important because they've been passed down through his tribe, right? The tribe elders have been like, you need to go into the world, go and find these embers of Imix and make them honor the old pact. Okay? So that's the thing for Maharib. He's connected to Ramus that way, but it may turn into like a headbutt situation when it really comes down to it. Like, what is to be done with the embers of Imix? Now, Yoji, so I've talked to JP a little bit about this, and I wanted to kind of bring this up. I haven't used it yet, and I know everybody's gonna be like, Yoji who? But Yoji has been removed from the wheel and is just like around. So keep an eye out for like a mysterious thing or two happening, because I think that Yoji is causing some weird ripples, and I would love, because you know who else is outside the universe? the fucking outer darkness. So there is definitely a chance to bring Yoji back if we go that direction, where like not only is he walking the periphery of the world, right, unseen by all who dwell within it, but there are other things that see him, right? Now the great fucking sphere of eyes that lurks behind the darkness of the sky is like, oh, what's up? What's up, Yoji? Hey, buddy. Like, we're trapped outside this fucking bubble. We can't get in, but like, hey, we see you. Like, hey, listen, right? So that's possible. That's a thing. Yotazo is connected to the Court of Swords by way of the Monastery of the Sun, which you'll find when we do the prep stuff. The Monastery of the Sun is where Yotazo's parents basically lived, and where they holed up as things fell apart in the Court of Swords, right? They are a rich Gaja family. They're very important and influential, and they paid for this massive temple, which means that Yotazo and Ramus probably like know each other, because Yotazo is like hundreds of years old, or like 170 or something. And Ramus was a kid at the monastery, so they probably crossed paths. And Ramus remembers like the benefactors, right? These Gaja that would come and visit sometimes and like give the kids like sweets and stuff. He's 123. Okay. So they have this connection through this place, through the Monastery of the Sun. Now Yota is coming back to, he hasn't been there, right? He hasn't been there in like 70 years, but he remembers the place, right? They don't have a direct connection, but they have this like connection through the institute, right? So the idea here of tying them together, again, doing the PC-NPC triangles, the NPC here is the location. It's the monastery. They both want to go back. And the reason that Yotazo wants to go back is he wants to find his parents, who he assumes semi-correctly that they're there. I mean, sort of. They're kind of there. We'll talk about that in a second. He's coming home, but he's realizing that like, oh, the Court of Swords is all fucked up. Like, it is a mess. I gotta go back to the monastery. So he's headed back to the monastery, him and Ramus both, and he wants to like discover, what's happened so that he can start rebuilding, right? He's returning to his childhood home. He will find the monastery to be quite different than he remembers. Now, the boring thing to do is like, both your parents are dead, right? That's the boring thing, because that's like if somebody writes a Burning Wheel character with a belief like, I must kill the king and get my revenge, and then having them dead in the first step. So one of his parents is dead, or dead. We'll get to that. So Yotazo's parents, they basically decided at some point when things were at their worst. We'll talk about what happened with the history of the monastery before we get into like kind of mapping it out and deciding what's going on there. But basically what happened was eventually the forces of the Necromancer King laid siege to the monastery, and in doing so began systematically like destroying people and killing the people that live there and starving them and plaguing them and all that shit. And at one point, Yotazo's parents, his mother and father, one of them said, I have to stay and protect this place. This is our home. And what if Yota comes back? What if he comes back? Like, our son needs to know where he can find us. So one of them stayed and the other one left. The other one fled to somewhere safe. From there, and like, this is like another kingdom. They're like in the Court of Coins. From there, they were safe, and they set about like trying to find their son and trying to like get mercenaries or whatever and go back into the court and like save their wife. And I think his mom stayed and his dad left. No, it's the other way around. His mom left and his dad stayed. Yeah. So yeah, his dad is, yeah, that's right. Your mother's already gone. That's right. Yeah. So his, the fate of his father, it's not good. It's not good. I haven't decided if he's a prisoner or if he is a disciple of the Mara now, right? But like, yeah, he's done some bad things to survive. He's still kind of alive, but he's around. His mom is far away, as far as he knows, safe, but we don't know about that yet. And he's in the monastery. Yeah. And if it comes down to like a 1v1 fucking kung fu battle between Yota Zo's undead, demonic, like Mara infested father versus Yota Zo and his like drunken style where he's come home and been like, I have my own style now, father, and they have to fight. I just want that over the top kung fu wuxia shit. Like that's what I want for that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's kind of the deal. He's gonna return. He's gonna find the monastery is in ruins, but not unoccupied. Now, what's interesting for all of this is that Berg is the wild card, right? Like Berg doesn't have anyone ordering him around. He's being observed by heaven, right? He's heaven's like looking glass, and he's blessed by the powers of heaven, but they're like busy, so there's not a lot of gods just like popping in. So Berg kind of has his own agenda. He can choose to tip the scales depending on where things go, right? So yeah, I'm excited about Berg being an asset and like kind of discovering that he does have a little bit of freedom to operate. Yeah, right. And then, yeah, when we talked about it before, like, what'll happen when Ramus is like, I have to destroy heaven, and Berg is like, hey, dummy. Like, they were good to me. They gave me power and shit. So it's like, he has freedom, but no one, it's my feeling that no one is truly free. Like, that's kind of how I feel about people in this setting, in the sense that, like, as long as there are more people who are more powerful than you exerting their influence over you, nobody is really free, right? And then we're like bound to our friends, we're bound to our allies, we're bound to the world we live in. Like you can't, there's this idea of like this infantile idea of freedom, but it's not like real in the sense that I think we think of it that way. Yeah, like Ramus is sort of free, but it's because he's cheating. He doesn't get to reap any of the benefits, but also he's free of the punishment of heaven. He's free in a very specific way in the sense of people who are rich are like free of capitalism. Like Ramus is still a prisoner of the world and how it works, but he's not free like in the sense that he can do whatever he wants, like free of consequence. Yeah. So we'll see, right? We'll see how it goes. So Berg is a bit of a wild card, and I'm kind of excited about that. Yeah. So the thing about like the next episode and kind of what's going forward is that it's all about the monastery. Right? We've talked a little bit about how this arc and how episode 100, it's a coming home. It's a returning, right? For us as players, like a return to the mistakes of the past, a return to the adversaries of the beginning, and a return to the physical, like Court of Swords. And for Yota and for Ramus, it's a literal return. It's a literal return home. So yeah, but home is different, right? You know, you can't step in the same stream twice, and these streams are fucking poisonous as shit. So let's talk about what's going on with the monastery, because the monastery is my like central focus for the live show and then for forward. Now, a lot of people were asking me like, hey, do you like the Strongholds and Followers book? Are you interested in Matt's new like thing? And I was like, yes, but I'm not going to like sit down and do a review of a D&D book that I want to use. That will be my review. I will show you the book when we play. So here's the plan, right? If the players are up for it, I would like them to seize the monastery, the ruins of the monastery, and they seize it from its current occupants and take control of it, and then make it a fortress, right? Build up their own force there, and it's their monastery. It's their monastery of the sun, and they can use it to like, I don't know, like save the Court of Swords or build their own army or like whatever. I don't care what they do with it, but that's my plan, is that they go to this place, and if they defeat the evil that dwells within it, they fix it up, and now they have a base, and we can begin this kind of next phase of Fort of Swords. Exactly. Yeah, Fort of Swords. That's right. And so yeah, so that's the plan. They can kind of do their, I'm gonna write that down. That's too funny. They can kind of do their own thing. They can build their own shit from here. So that is kind of where I'm thinking the next sort of bit goes, right? This is the arc in which we resolve some of that stuff we talked about, and then they get their own little base. So let's talk a little bit in here. Let me jump over to my Google Doc here, because I want to kind of make a list of like stuff, thematic elements and whatever for this bit. So let me see. So what do we got to include? So like thematic stuff, elements to include. And I won't need to use all of this, but this is just kind of like where my head is at right now. So here, let me make it a little bigger for you. So like the Monastery of the Sun is our central piece. The locus of all this bad history, and return to the failures of the past. So the monastery itself is, yeah, white screen. Sorry. Yeah, the Monastery of the Sun is the central bit. It is the thing around which, the locus around which all the other things are structured or built. I think also there's like, and I don't want to like necessarily just talk about like broad general themes, because I've got a pretty good handle on that. We talked about all that. But like the Embers of Imix, representing both, representing both an ancient pact for Maharib and a new beginning for Ramus. Swearing new oaths, starting a new cycle, reinvigoration, etc. But the embers have an agenda. Fire burns. It destroys. It lays waste, but doesn't do much else. Really, like the metaphorical Prometheus shit too of fire, right? Like that idea of if you join up with the embers, like it's not like they just do their thing. Right? They're not, it's not like the tower. Like the tower destroys for a reason, right? The tower destroys to prove to you that holding on to things are not, there's no point. It destroys things so that you can move on through the cycle. The tower is destruction with a purpose. The primordials have no purpose. No primordial has an agenda of thought. It's an agenda of instinct, right? We move from, right? And I made a note of this before. The conflict between heaven and primordials is the conflict between fate and instinct, right? What is instinct if not inborn natural fate, right? Are they different? Is a fire fated to burn, or simply a matter of built-in thoughtless action, right? What is the difference between fate and instinct, right? So that's something that I've been thinking about a lot. And that's kind of the Embers of Imix, like what they're about in the thing. Yeah, is there a difference between all that stuff? Yeah, and there's some Dark Soulsy stuff with the Embers of Imix, like kindling the flame versus like burning it all out, letting the fire die, right? I guess we can include that, right? Fire metaphors for Ramus / the past, rekindling the fire versus letting it go out. All fire burns out in the end. That's part of its story, right? No fire burns forever. No flame burns forever. Eventually the fuel runs out. Okay. The Necromancer King, right? Necromancer King and the Mara by extension. The idea of anti-fate, right? The fuck you to heaven. The idea of sort of aggressive, selfish humanism. That might appeal to Ramus, right? Self-interest and human power for its own sake. The breaking of the wheel, etc. So that's kind of the theme around there. It's like the take control, don't have it given to you. Strangle your masters with your chains, right? Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So yeah. But also like petty revenge. Things we consider to be low behavior or impulses. Do we revel in our shallowness or try to be something better? Yeah, so that's kind of where the Necromancer King shit is going on. So the Monastery of the Sun is our locus for that. We have the Embers of Imix. We have the Necromancer King. We have this sense of like returning, right? Again, like the three-wheeled cart. The metaphor of a house divided. The falcon cannot hear the falconer, right? All things entropy and degradation, but fought against by rules and structure, rebuilding, recreating the old. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. So where we're at kind of right now, and I have some other notes about this that I'll publish in the zine, but I'll talk about them here. So some little like secrets or whatever. I guess let's talk about the monastery. So the Monastery of the Sun was one of the last big holdouts, right? The Sun, as we've seen through Ramus, they're very flashy. They're very powerful. They employ lots of wizards and clerics. They know a lot of stuff. They have a lot of influence. They're a big, popular arcana to worship. And this Temple of the Sun is one of the biggest in the world, or most significant in the world. They're boisterous. That's right. And they hate the Mara. They just fucking hate them so much. And so this temple was one of the last holdouts. This was a place where people came to hide as the terrible shit happened in the kingdom, as people were murdered. People who didn't join the Necromancer King were ridden down in the roads, and this is where many people came to seek solace. The Necromancer King sent one of his lieutenants, one of his most trusted lieutenants, and she will serve as our sort of prime antagonist. And I guess actually let's go NPCs. So I have some NPCs. We have a character who they're going to get introduced to in the next episode, who's going to teach them some things about the world. So there is a researcher. There is a researcher who is sent to the Midlands from the Court of Coins, and I'm just checking if I've made a note about this already. Her name is Zaida Al-Shaim. She's a wizard, a religious scholar and a wizard, and she is a faithful generalist, right? She's someone who is deeply curious about religion, and she's been in the Court of Swords for about 18 months, I think I said, more than a year, but not so much. She comes from a library called Talcott. It's like a fortress school. And she's come here by herself. Yeah, like a theurge, right? To like learn what's going on, right? Get to know what the hell is going on in the court. And she's like an eminent understander of this place. She can give the PCs a bunch of information. So she is someone that's kind of like a guide or whatever. She won't put herself in danger without good reason. But her, living on her own for 18 months, she's no joke. Yeah, she's a powerful wizard. Zaida Al-Shaim. I think she probably has like, I'll get out of here, Google Docs. Al-Shaim, a researcher and wizard. A Sahir hopeful, right? That maybe she'll learn how to become like one of those cool things. And obsessive scholar of religion, particularly the worship of heaven, and its conflict with other faiths, right? Like the primordial cults, the primordial cults, the Mara, etc. So Zaid al-Shaim is in the she's in the she's in the jungle. She's been here for like a year and a bit. She has some friends that she knows here, like she does trading and stuff. She probably knows some other groups, and we'll talk about them in a second. Okay, so that's Zaida. She's important. Now she's been studying currently studying the Monastery of the Sun. She knows the story of its fall. So the Monastery of the Sun is currently occupied by the Necromancer King's one of his most loyal servants, a sorceress whose name is Mouthful of Worm-Ridden Grave Dirt. A sorceress, necromancer, maybe a lich? I don't know. And the commander of the Monastery of the Sun, Necropolis. A bad lady to cross. So there's Mouthful of Worm-Ridden Grave Dirt. She is a scary lady, and she's currently the boss one in charge of the monastery. She's the commander of the monastery. Dark magic, and her job is just to like hang out and protect it. She knows, I guess this is important. She knows about the locked gateway to heaven, which is the real reason why the Necromancer King took the place before Mouthful of Worm-Ridden Grave Dirt. Yeah, she loves Stairway to Heaven, but that's her real job, is to protect the thing and wait. She knows all about the Necromancer King's like plans for Ramus and all that stuff. Yeah, she's well aware of all of that. So that's her. I'm gonna put some question marks here because we don't know this person yet, and it's better for me to kind of keep this one. This is a sort of Robin Hood figure. We'll talk about this in a second. So this person, we don't know their name, the mysterious leader of the Bloody Scale Revenge Society. Whoever this person is, somebody, no one has seen them. Zaida doesn't know who she is. Mouthful of Worm-Ridden Grave Dirt doesn't know who she is, or they are. I'm just using she because we have so many like ladies already. This person is the leader of a group called the Bloody Scale Revenge Society. And the Bloody Scale Revenge Society, we have seen their handiwork. They are a bunch of like troublemakers. They are a bloody bunch of troublemakers. And what they do is they hang out and they cause trouble. Leader, they lead a group of mixed human, dwarven, and kobold troublemakers who come down from the mountains to rob, kill, and harass anyone not strong or smart enough to defend themselves. Freebooters, NK loyalists, the court, whoever. They're just here to steal, kill, and wreck shit. They're a bit of a wild card. Yeah, okay. So we don't know who they are. There may be a single person. It might be a council. This is kind of the background thing. So Zaida knows about the Bloody Scale Revenge Society. So does Mouthful of Worm-Ridden Grave Dirt. Everybody else thinks they're kind of like, I don't know, random like bandits. We don't know. But they're around, and we've seen their handiwork. That trap belongs to them. And then I wrote down a person. Actually, that was somebody else. That was their like. I need a Cult of Imix like person. And we also need for NPCs dad, right? Like Yotazo's father, a former monk, I think, and benefactor of the Monastery of the Sun, thought dead by his wife and children, but actually he's fallen under the sway of the Mara and is an advisor and ally of Mouthful of Worm-Ridden Grave Dirt. Yeah. There we go. So this is dad. Yeah, totally. Like a corrupted sun soul. Yeah, totally. That's good. Yeah, sun soul monk, benefactor of the Monastery of the Sun, thought dead by his wife and children, but actually he has been corrupted by the Mara. But he's not going to be all gross and like zombified. He's going to be exactly the way that that Yota remembers him, right? Papa Kel, right? Because the Kel is the family name. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then, and this is totally the like, my son, you've come home. This is the new way of things. You have to understand all change hurts, right? Like he's going to be the like, I know it's confusing. I know that you're scared, but your allies are wrong, right? You've come home. I accept you, my son. And then Yoda's going to have to be like, shut up, Dad, and fight him with the gourd, and it'll be a whole thing. Okay, so we got that. We got our little Darth Vader moment here with Papa Kel. And then the thing is, like, there's a lot going on around the monastery, and I know that the players want to meet somebody who is somebody who's like an Ember, right? The leader of the Embers in this vicinity. So like leader of the Embers of Imix, a Genasi of some kind, I think. What if Zeke decided to join his dad? Well, then he can betray the rest of the party. I'm pretty into it. That's fine. Yeah, it'll be okay. Okay, so we need a dude who's like the leader. Let's find a good, like, I'm gonna use like a Thai name, I think. Awut. Awut means weapon in Thai. That's fucking cool. Yeah. Awut. A fire genasi and the leader of the Midlands Embers of Imix seems so weird. Leader of the Embers of Imix in the region. Like a ranger or a druid or something like that. Disciple of Flame. And a charismatic leader offering the people of the Court of Swords another way. He is wise and clever and ruthless. Yeah. Yeah. An absolute mad lad. That's right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Wise, clever, and ruthless. He will use Ramus as best he can. Yeah. Awut. And then I don't think, like, I think this area is pretty secured, so there probably aren't a bunch of, like, wandering freebooters. That's more like on the road. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. That's good. Okay. So these are the main NPCs that I need. I can always fill in with, like, randos for whatever else that I need. Yeah. Oh shit. You know what we should do? Let's make Mouthful of Worm-Ridden Grave Dirt. Let's see. Formerly the queen of a Court of Swords province who died when the Necromancer King infected her town, I guess infected her palace with shadows. There we go. Perfect. Yep. Cool. There we go. Let's come face to face with your own failure. All right. So she probably has, like, I think here, let's throw her, has an adopted son who is an uncorrupted Court of Swords youth. She calls Lotus. I think we can come up with something better. It's like something about Lotus is, though, this is her stand-in, right? This is her, like, I lost my page, but this is this perfect boy that I will protect, right? I love him. He's, yeah. And it's like a cute, like, pet name, right? Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Lotus petals or lotus petal. We've had a petal before. But something that would remind her of what happened before. Yeah, something about, like, yeah. Something like that. Yeah. I'll think on it. Who's an uncorrupted Court of Swords youth that she obsesses over and protects. Served, this is going to be awesome, served by 3 bound ghosts, former magistrates of the Court of Swords, tormented into insanity over a decade of awful sorcery by grave dirt. 3 chained ghosts, right? That, like, serve. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. Yeah. Oh, that's right. She was the king. You're right. Yeah, that's right. They had inverse, which is even better. That makes even more sense. Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. So yeah. So she's the king. She's got these chained magistrate ghosts. Yeah. Totally. These wraiths. I like it. Cool. All right. Sen is the Vietnamese word for lotus. That's cool. I like Sen. Okay. I'm going to change this. Has a page. It's an uncorrupted Court of Swords child. She obsesses over and protects, who she calls Little Sen. There we go. Perfect. Okay, cool. Good. So there are NPCs, and I think what I want to do, rather than, like, map out every single, like, the problem is with the live shows is I got to do 4 hours straight with no breaks, and usually on breaks I can be, like, fucking building maps and stuff. But I can't do that, so I gotta, like, throw some stuff together in case I need it. But I don't want to do like a ton of like detailed mapping. So I think what we're gonna do. Yeah, Ash, that's what these are. I'll never refer to them by name like that, but you're gonna know because you watched the prep show. But the three chained ghosts, are those magistrates. It's Velimir and was that air genasi, a fire genasi, and a dwarf. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to lay out a couple of things. I will tell you this. So one more thing outside, the cracking sounds and stuff that we heard, the breaking trees and stuff. That is it's an undead giant that patrols the area and serves a mouthful of worm-ridden grave dirt. So what's that sound? So an undead giant, dragged up from the earth and given foul semblance of life, patrols the area around the temple. It's a monastery. I guess I'm calling it a temple. Monastery. Patrols the area around the monastery for grave dirt, looking for intruders to eat. Okay, there we go. All right, it's big guy cronking around looking for stuff. No, it's not a T-Rex. This is a different kind of jungle. Yeah. No, I know. I've had enough giant dinosaur shit. We did that already. You want to see that? Go watch Tomb. All right. So I don't think we've seen dinosaurs before, but they don't live in this part of the world. Okay. Let's map out the... Yeah, it is a giant that shoots bees out of his mouth, though, so you can have that. Let's map out the monastery.